Imagine being the Warhammer Titan in Minecraft Attack on Titan for 100 days, fighting all the Titan shifters, using my ODM gear to take down Titans, and saving the island of Paradis from Marley. Can I do all of these things while mastering my Titan's powers in just 100 days? Watch the whole video to find out. Now, enjoy the video. I spawned in on top of a wall. They were going to turn me into a Titan. I looked around for any plans to escape, but there were tons of guards. And when I looked down, there were a ton of Titans.
You must defeat the other Titan shifters and save the island of Paradise.
He then pulled out a syringe and injected me with the Titan serum. And then I got pushed down and I landed with one heart. There were Titans all around me, so I had to run. The Titans were close on my tail, so I knew I had to keep running. I don't know why it pushed me down here to my death, but I knew I had to keep running. They were getting closer and closer, and I was about to die. When all of a sudden, I transformed into the Warhammer Titan, and I used my hardening spikes to kill away all the Titans before collapsing. I woke up and all I saw was destruction. All I had remembered was that I had to use my Titan power and save Paradis Island. Eventually, I found myself in a forest. While I was here, I knew I would need a place to sleep, so I decided to grab some wood, make some wooden tools, and then get to work on crafting a new base. I got enough wood, and I started to lay out the groundworks for my base. I didn't want it to be too complicated, just a small shack that would keep me protected and away from the Titans. When I had finished, I crafted a chest, put all my items in there, and I noticed it was really late, so I went to bed. But when I woke up, I was swarmed by Titans. Oh no, there's two Titans. Alright, making a break for it. Go, 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 go. Oh no, he saw me. I gotta run. As I was running, I didn't even notice, but they were destroying my house in the process. Run. These Titans are faster than the other ones. They're destroying everything. Oh my gosh. Oh no, 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 no. They're coming close. Get out of here. Run, 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 run. Need to transform. Here we go. I then transformed again into the Warhammer Titan. And this time it looked like I had more control. So I used my Titan abilities to kill the other Titans once again. This time, I was also able to swing my hammer for a new attack. I knew that I would have to master this Titan. Do you know what else I've mastered? The segue to this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. And just hear me out, if you like anime like Attack on Titan, then you will love Raid because of its unbeatable gameplay and amazing graphics. I mean, just look at it. Raid is also home to some of the best champions, and my top 3 favorites would have to be Adachi, Ruel the Huntmaster, and Death Knight. Speaking of Death Knight, Raid has just released a super-powered legendary version of him called Ultimate Death Knight. He's incredibly powerful and honestly just a perfect champion. And the best part is that you can get him for free, yes, for free, if you just log in and play Raid for the next 7 days between now and October 27th. And if you use the promo code on screen, you'll get a bunch of free items to level up your Ultimate Death Knight to make him the absolute best in battles. Raid is also running an amazing Trick or Treat Halloween promo where new players can win real-life prizes like $1,000 Amazon gift cards. On top of that, you can get some Halloween champions in Raid, and it's super easy to do. You just need your Raid player ID, then download Raid and go to trickortreat.plarium.com on the screen and enter in your details, then spin the wheel to get your prize. This event runs from October 15th through November 5th, so be fast. If all of that hasn't sold you, then this has to. New players that use my link or the QR code on screen get a free starter pack worth almost $30 and a free champion, Aina. Not to mention a ton of in-game loot. You'll be able to find these rewards in your inbox for only the next 30 days, so jump on this offer right now. And thank you again to Raid for sponsoring this video. I came back, and all my stuff was gone. I saw that my chest was still there, so I grabbed all my loot and decided to make a new place. After a bit, I finally finished clearing the grass on the ground. This place was a lot bigger and there were no Titans in sight, so I decided to go to bed. Soon after waking up, I wanted to test out my Titan, so I transformed and then I began to train. I trained in my spike attacks and my hammer swings, getting more and more powerful. After I untransformed, I decided to go out exploring, and after a long time running, I found a wall, and it looked like there was a way in. I decided to go in and there was a passageway, and inside was a whole city. So, I had to go in. Sneaking around, I made my way in, and noticed that there was some food here. I was really low on hunger, so I decided to collect all the melons because I would need them for later. I continued looking around, when I noticed that there was an area with some chests. I ran over to it, and when I opened the chest, inside I found a whole bunch of steak, training equipment, and some gas tanks. I didn't know what they were used for, but I took them anyways and decided to get out of there. And after finally making it home, I was able to go to sleep. When morning came, I decided to see what this training gear is about. So after trying to place it down for a little while, I eventually got it, and it spawned this weird structure thing. After looking at it, I noticed that there was a place for me to get on. And when I did, I got some new things in my inventory. And what I got was a full set of omnidirectional mobility gear. So I decided to put it on and put it to the test. On my first attempt, I did really bad, and I couldn't control it at all. So I decided to take the whole day to train and get a little bit better using this ODM gear. I was doing much better since the beginning, but I still couldn't control it fully. And I was able to go a couple swings without falling off yet. By the end of the day, I decided to go third person, and I was doing so much better. I was able to go all across the trees, and I was able to go much quicker now. When training, I noticed a Titan, and I was going to put this ODM gear to the test. So I swung over and went to attack, but I missed. So I had to go really quick to escape the Titan. He was right behind me, and I kept missing. I knew if I didn't go fast enough that this Titan would kill me in one shot. So I eventually got to a treetop where I could rest for a little bit. After getting at a good angle, I decided to jump from the top of the treetop, and with my most powerful slash, I finished off my first Titan. I made sure he was dead before checking outside, and I noticed it was super late. So after lighting up my house, I decided to go to bed. The next day, I walked outside of my house and everything was shaking, so I decided to investigate. When I got closer, I noticed a Titan, and it had a gun attached to it. So I transformed on the spot, and it started running at me. It used its gun and knocked me all the way back so I couldn't get any hits in. I eventually got closer and started to do some damage, but it kept knocking me back. I ran in close and used my spike attack, knowing that it did a lot of damage, but it retaliated and used its gun to knock me back again, doing a ton of damage also. By this point, I didn't know how to approach it, so I just kept going in with my spike attacks. But since this Titan was pretty quick, and they had their gun, they kept launching me back, so I couldn't get a lot of damage in. I continued making my way in, but I was super slow. Luckily, my attacks, when they did land, they were super powerful, so I didn't have to land as many attacks as this Titan. I started attacking him with my hammer. I was doing a lot of great damage, but it was able to still use this gun, and was doing damage back to me. I made my way back in, and used my spike attacks, trying to get a final blow. But this Titan was so resilient, and with the armor around it, I could tell those attacks weren't doing the amount of damage they should. We continued fighting, and I could tell that I was getting weaker and weaker. I had definitely not mastered my Titan powers yet, but I had to continue. I couldn't die here. I could tell that the Titan shifter that was controlling this was a lot more experienced than me, so I had to make up for it with my immense power. I kept using my spike attacks, but this Titan didn't just have a gun, it had strong swipes. It was just enough to keep me back, and then it would use its gun to do all of the damage. I eventually got in close. I knew that I would have to finish this Titan off soon, and I had a feeling my Titan body was super low on health. Using every bit of power I had left, I used my stomps, my hammer swings, all the attacks I could, but I was defeated. Soon after, a white-haired man emerged, and he called back the Titan. The Titan came running towards him, and then they left together. The next few days, after that defeat, I knew I had to become a lot more powerful, so I spent the next few days training in case of another fight. After getting low on resources from the training, I decided to go back into the walls when I noticed a man was waiting for me.
I have seen you coming in and out of here. What are you doing?
You must be mistaken. I'm gonna go. After leaving, I made it back to my house, and I didn't get anything that I wanted, so I went to sleep. And after waking up, I noticed that there were Titans swarming my house. This time, it wasn't just one Titan, it was two. So I decided to put my training to the test and attack the Titan, missing the first shot. I had to keep up my speed or else I would have died. I continued zipping around, looking for a good opportunity to finally kill this Titan, when I landed on the tree, and I was gonna try the same thing I tried with the other one, but I ended up missing. I continued moving around, finding a good spot to finally kill the Titan. One down, there's still one to go, and this one was stupid hard to kill. I continued going around as fast as I could and was able to kill it. With those out of the way, I was finally able to go off exploring. And by the time night had fallen, I had found myself in a village. When I looked over and I noticed a book, I went over to pick it up, and it read, "We are actively looking for the Warhammer Titan, and our attempts have been unsuccessful. We will continue the search tomorrow, Reiner." After I'd gotten the message, I threw it in the fire, knowing that must have been a clue. So, I decided to head back to my house and go to sleep. I went out exploring the next day in the region that I had found the book from, when I noticed someone was in the trees. So, I decided to walk over there and see who it was. When before I could even think, they had started to transform, and they transformed into the Armor Titan. I began to run away, looking for a spot to safely transform. I found one, and after transforming, we began to battle. I knew I had to make the first move because this Titan looked a lot more powerful than the last one. I used my hammer attacks, but I noticed they were doing no damage. It had all of its armor all over it, taking all of the blows. I knew that if I was gonna have to defeat this Titan, then I would have to shatter all of its armor and then finish it off. So I continued using my attacks, trying to weaken the armor more and more. But the Armor Titan wasn't just playing defense, it was going offense too, and it was doing a lot of damage to my Titan body. Luckily, I had gotten my training in, so I was a bit more powerful at this point. I charged in, and then went for the attacks, weakening his armor little by little, trying to break it. I noticed that my hammer attacks were doing a lot more damage, so I continued to use them. But in combination with my spike attacks, it was able to slow down the Armored Titan, so I was able to land more and more hits. Spike attacks were doing more damage now because his armor was starting to break, and I knew I just had to keep it up. So I continued using my spike attacks over and over again, and then all of a sudden, his armor had broken. Now I was able to do a lot of damage. His attack power was still the same, so I was still losing a lot of health. Even though I could still feel that my attacks were doing a lot more damage. He continued to put up a fight. So I just kept pounding into him, using my spike attack and my hammer attacks over and over again, because that's all I could do. My endurance was running out, when all of a sudden, I laid the final blow, defeating the Armored Titan. Once I defeated him, I went out into the forest and trained in my ODM gear, before going back to my house and repairing it for a little bit. And after repairing the house, I went back into the city, while doing a 360 before jumping down. And I eventually found someone whose name was Erwin, and he started to talk to me.
You look like a fine young prospect. Why don't you come out and train to become a member of the Scouts?
I guess I can do that. After Erwin told me that, I left immediately to go to the campsite to go train. I finally made it there after a couple of days of running, and immediately started to train. I got inside the pit, and with my ODM gear, I started working on my speed and my accuracy with my blades. I continued training in all sorts of terrains so I could get better and better. All throughout training camp, I noticed someone watching me, but it was almost finished, so I decided to ignore him. I was finally finished with training camp, and I was told to go into this building. I went inside and saw a chest with my name on it. I opened up the chest, and what I found surprised me. I took off my normal uniform and put on my green coat, officially making me a member of the Scouts. Now that I was a scout, I decided to go off and train in my Titan 4. All the Titans I fought were pretty fast compared to me, so I decided to work solely on my speed. If I was faster, I knew I'd be able to take down all the Titan shifters, and by the end of the day, I'd gotten so much faster. And because I was done training, I decided to use some of the wood I had to expand on my house a little bit. Making it higher up would be able to help me see Titans better, so I decided to add a whole second story. I finally finished the house, and it looks pretty solid. Inside, I was able to add a whole new chest area and clean that place up a bit, add some windows, and inside I added a place where I could have a ladder to get up to the second story. I finally made it up there because the ladder wasn't working, and I put trapdoors up here just so that they could act as a window and a barrier. Now that I had finished my house, it was time for me to go out exploring to look for more Titan shifters. While I was exploring, I found these abandoned ruins, so I decided to go inside and see what was happening. I looked around and it was pretty eerie, and I got a bad feeling about this place. Eventually, I made it inside, and in there was really nothing. I saw some chests, so I went over, and there was nothing inside of them. I went to check these chests too, and there was nothing also. But then, everything started shaking, and I knew something was happening. I looked over outside, and the Cart Titan was back. He immediately started shooting at me after I transformed, and we began to battle. I was much quicker this time, so I was able to close the gap and start hitting it with my hammer, and using my spike attacks. I knew this time I would not lose. I was much stronger and much quicker, so I was closing the gap better and better. Its attacks were doing a lot more damage. Knowing this, I knew I would have to finish off the battle as quick as possible. This couldn't go on longer. I was able to use the defense of my Titan and still continue to attack it, while it was shooting me up the wall. Eventually, it got me super high. I used its attack to land back down with my hammer, doing a ton of damage. I kept using my hammer while I was up there, jumping up and doing a lot of damage to the Cart Titan. I used my stomps while they were still using their gun, and we were both doing a ton of damage to each other. The battle continued, and the Cart Titan kept pushing me back more and more. My hammer had a good reach, so I was able to use that to do some damage, before getting pushed back again. My hammer swings were doing a lot more damage now, and the Cart Titan's armor wasn't as effective, so I knew I'd be able to finish it off soon. Its gun attack was still a problem though, and it kept pushing me back, eventually getting me near the edge of a river. I didn't want to fall in, so I kept attacking, using my spikes to maybe hold it down. But with its slash attacks, it was able to push me into the river. Soon after, the Cart Titan ran in too. We began fighting in the water. I used my hammer attacks in the water because they were still effective. And since I was taller, I was able to swing my hammer and finish off the Cart Titan for good. But soon after, I started to get drowsy, and I had passed out. When I woke up, I had washed up inside the interior. While I was here, I decided to go see if I could loot around and grab any food or any supplies that I would need for back home. This place was massive, so I had to be careful, and the guards were all over the place. Eventually, I found some chests with a whole bunch of meat. But not just meat, I was able to find an extra gas tank and some thunder spears. This place was an absolute gold mine, so after I looted everything, I left really quickly so I wouldn't get caught. It was night by the time I had made it home, and when I looked on my door, I had found a note. I opened it and it read, "Hello Warhammer, we found your little shack and I think it's about time you get back to Marley. See you soon, your training buddy." As I thought about it, who it was, I had a flashback. It had been the same guy who was stalking me all throughout the training camp. He must be a Titan shifter. No time to waste, I had to go straight back to the city to see if I could find him. After making it into town that night, I found an abandoned building that I could sleep in. So I found a good spot and went to bed. The next morning, I decided to put away all my stuff when walking around the city, so no one would be suspicious. I continued walking around when everything started to shake all around me, and I turned around, looked up to see the colossal Titan standing above the wall. Knowing I couldn't fight it right now, I had to run right back to the house to grab my ODM gear and get out of the city. I finally made my way back to the house. I went inside, started opening the chest to find all my ODM gear so I could get out of here. I grabbed all my stuff really quickly. Just in case I needed to use my thunder spear, I put it in my left hand. And then I left the house and left. After leaving, I found some more Titans, and I had to deal with them. This time there was a lot more. Since they were in swarms, it was so much harder to kill. But I was able to get some good angles and kill some of them. Now that that guy was dead, there's only one left. It was this small, big-nosed one, and he's the hardest to kill. He hit me once and did almost all of my hearts. If I didn't have my armor on, I would have been dead. I went back in with my thunder spear and completely missed. I went back so he wouldn't get me, launched up and tried to attack again, but I missed, and he almost got me again. I came back in third person, trying to get him, but when I looked around, he was gone. And after that, I decided to leave, and find a good place to sleep for the night. I didn't want to go back to my house because the Colossal Titan already knew I was there. So I found a campsite in the forest, and slept there. Since I was out of gas, I would need to be able to make some tools and mine some iceburst stones. So after collecting some wood, I made a pickaxe, and then after that, I made a stone pickaxe and began to mine some coal. After I got the coal, I kept mining and found some iceburst stones. After I'd gotten a good amount of iceburst stones, I had eventually found some iron, which is the last piece I would need to make some new gas tanks. I continued mining, finding more and more iceburst stones and more ores just to make some more gas. And eventually, I was able to craft a furnace. I used that furnace to smelt my iron, and was able to make myself one gas tank. Now that I had a gas tank, I felt much more confident in my ability to go look for the Titan shifters. And by the time all of that was over, it was super late, so I went to bed in the tent. And the next morning began to train in my Titan body. Colossal Titan looked like the strongest foe yet, so I had to learn a new move. It was the spinning hammer move. After days of training, I got a full new set of hearts, so I was much more confident in my ability to take down this Titan. After looking, I was running around when I saw him. It was the guy from the training camp. I think his name was Bertold. He was running into the forest, so I couldn't waste any time. I had to transform here and there. I was scared, so I was creeping backwards, and at the same time he saw me and transformed into the Colossal Titan. After I transformed, we began the battle, and his stomps hurt a lot. This was definitely the slowest Titan I'd faced, but the most powerful. He was so much taller than me. He was towering over me, and he was able to stomp all the way up to my head. The only thing that was keeping me in this fight was my hammer, so I continually used it to defend myself and to attack. My spikes were doing a lot of damage to his feet, so that was a good thing too, and they weren't able to move as fast. I was trying to extend the range of my spike attack because he was so massive, but it wasn't working. I didn't have enough power to keep it going, and he started using his steam, pushing me back. So I had to continually keep moving forward just to get any hits in. He started using his punches now, and they were doing a lot of damage. I didn't know how much longer I'd be able to keep this up for. I knew I just had to keep defending myself with my hammer and attacking while evading using my speed. He kept using his steam, pushing me back. This fight was hard, but I knew I would be able to make it through it. I could tell he was getting slower and slower, which means my hits were working, and he was taking damage now. The move that did the most damage was my hammer smash and the spikes. I knew it was only a matter of time before I'd finish him off, and with one last hammer swing, the Colossal Titan was finished. Soon after, from exhaustion, I had collapsed too. And by the time I'd woken up, it was super late. So I decided to eat some food while making my way back to the campsite to go to sleep. I wanted to make some trades for some gas and some new blades, so I went into the interior and went to the market. This guy said that I would need to give him some food, and in return I would be able to get 2 gas tanks, which I did. This girl said that I would give her some food also, and in return I was able to get some new blades. After I was done trading, I decided to go back home using my ODM gear. When I started going back home, I noticed that my house was completely destroyed, and there was nobody around. It looks like a Titan did this. I went to investigate, and all of my stuff was gone. All that was left were the remains. Knowing another Titan shifter did this, I decided to go out looking immediately, because I had no home anymore. I looked at all the places that I never have before. High and low, day and night, and I couldn't really find anything. The next day, I had made my way over into the town, seeing if I could find anything there, or any clues to find any Titan shifters. But again, I had found nothing. And I swear I had checked everywhere. Later, I decided to get a better vantage point and go to the top point of the map. Up here, I would be able to see anything, especially a Titan. Looking around to the rooftops, I didn't see anyone. And after I jumped down, I saw a human over here. Oh, have I seen you before?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting. Do you know any recent sights of a Titan destroying a house or any buildings? These are scout duties, of course.
No, I haven't seen a Titan destroying a house. Why is that so specific?
Don't worry about it. Goodbye. I started walking away when I heard something behind me. And as I turned around, he had been transforming into another Titan shifter. He transformed into the Jaw Titan. And soon after, I transformed as well. With the Jaw Titan speed, he came charging in at me. I waited for the right time to strike and then used my hammer attack. It did a lot of damage, but since he was so quick, he was able to maneuver around me and then retaliate by biting my leg. We continued fighting on the rooftop, and I was still using my spike attacks because they seemed to do a lot of damage and slow him down a bit. After he knocked me onto a rooftop, I made my way back. When I got there, the Jaw Titan started using his jawed powers and his slashes to bite at my legs and my chest. I'd been taking a lot of damage, and this Titan was super powerful, but I could tell it didn't have a lot of health. I continued using my hammer thrust and my spike attacks to slow it down, in any desperate attempt to do more damage. This Titan was super powerful, he kept using his jaw attacks, but he was also missing. He was jumping up and slashing at my chest, trying to slow me down and do a lot of damage, and I could tell I wouldn't be able to do this fight for much longer, so I would have to finish it with some powerful attacks. I kept using a bunch of hammer and spike attacks because that's all my Titan could really do. This Titan was much faster, so I knew that I would have to outsmart it. Eventually, I knocked it down, and I came down soon after, hitting it with a hammer thrust on the way down to do a lot more damage. I used a hammer thrust, and then I decided to go for a stomp since this Titan was a lot shorter than me, and it connected. After that, the Jaw Titan started using his speed and almost got my nape. I retreated back and then retaliated with some spike attacks to slow it down. I knew I would have to finish off this Titan soon because I wouldn't be able to last for too long. So after one stomp, I finished off the Titan. And when I woke up, I immediately left because I didn't want to be caught in my Titan form in town. I eventually was able to heal up from all of the damage that I had taken, and then go back into town and start looking for some clues. I was looking in these barrels when I noticed a girl walked by, and she had dropped a notebook. I quickly ran by to grab it, and see what was in it. So after making sure she wasn't here, I opened up the notebook, and it read, "It's day 59, and I'm still looking for the coordinate, and the Warhammer. We lost the Colossal, and he will have to come soon if this keeps up." I didn't know what this meant, but I knew that was definitely another Titan shifter. Because it was late, I decided to find a good spot inside the interior because I knew that would be safer, and go to bed. I then started my search all over for this new Titan shifter, looking at all the spots that I had previously visited. I even checked where I defeated the cart Titan, and there wasn't anything either. So I decided to scour all of the walls because I hadn't looked at the walls yet. And since they are so big, there are so many possibilities for a Titan shifter to be hiding on there. Later in the day, while looking through the walls, I found a campsite up at the top of one. And I looked over, and there was nothing really here, except for what was a knife. I right-clicked on the knife, and it took half my hearts and almost turned me into a Titan. This is definitely what people use to turn into Titans. This definitely seemed like a more experienced Titan shifter. So I decided to go back and train for the next couple of days in my Titan form. I wanted to unlock any new abilities, or a new move that I'd be able to use to defeat any new Titan shifters. And by the end of the training, I'd gained a full new row of hearts. After training, I found a nearby village that looked pretty abandoned, and this house looked nice, so I went inside and stayed the night. But what I didn't know that night was that there was a Titan shifter waiting for me to awake. I woke up, and decided to go out looking for her again, when I looked in front of me and she was there. I knew that this was definitely the Titan shifter, so I didn't hesitate. I used that knife from earlier, cut my hand, and then transformed into the Warhammer Titan. And soon after, she transformed too. This Titan looked really fierce, and looked like he was really agile, so I was being really careful. She used hardened fists and legs to do a lot more damage than the other Titan shifters, and she was super quick. I'm glad I had trained my speed. Just like the Jaw Titan, I knew I would have to outsmart her using my abilities. So I started off by wanting to slow her down. Using my spike attack, I got her slow. And then after that, I knew I would be able to do some damage, so I went in with another spike attack, launching her into the air and doing a lot of damage. She retaliated with some punches and some kicks, but I kept going. I used my hammer smash, and it was doing a lot more damage than she was doing to me, so I knew I might be able to finish this. She wasn't putting up with it though. She was using her hardened legs to do a lot of health, and my Titan body wasn't able to keep up. She had kept going at me, using her punches and kicks. She was a very trained martial artist. I could tell that this wouldn't be as easy as any of the other Titans I had fought before. She continued going at me, and I'd started using some kicks too, which she launched me back. And in between hits, she was able to do a lot of punches toward my body. She jumped up and punched me in the face, and that one hurt a lot. All I could do was retaliate with my spike attacks because I didn't know what to do. My Titan hardening was wearing off. If I was going to defeat her, I would have to do it now. Kept using a lot of stomps and punches, so I kept using my hammer attacks, and eventually I was able to lay the final blow and defeat the female Titan. Knowing that I had almost lost just because of my speed and agility alone, I decided to train that some more. Because if there were even more agile Titan shifters, I would need to be able to defeat them, and I didn't want to take any chances. With my newfound speed and agility, I was able to learn a new move, my spinning hammer thrust. And then after that, I decided to go home and check on my house. It was still in pieces, and I really wanted it back, so I decided to spend the next couple days repairing the whole house and making it even better. I'd finally finished, and it looked even better than before. I had got more windows, better doors, a whole chest area, a crafting area, and it looked so much more organized. I put some torches back up, and I kept the same area over here, and since they destroyed it, it was even more spacious than before. I replaced all the windows, and my house was looking very good again. Now that I had finished that, I had learned a new move, and I of course wanted to master it. So I spent the next couple days vigorously training my Titan spinning move. I'd finished training that, feeling a lot more confident in my Titan's ability to take down more shifters, so I went to bed. Meanwhile, in Shiganshina, the Beast Titan had shown up, and it was looking for me. It started going to every building, destroying all of them, without remorse for the citizens, or any fear of being captured. This Titan was so powerful, and one of its punches could destroy a whole building. It made a whole circle, and destroyed everything in sight. Hearing the racket and the screams of the Titan, I noticed something was wrong. I ran over to take a better look, and that's when I saw it. I knew I had to transform. I couldn't let all of these people die. So I transformed into the Warhammer Titan to take it on. Using the speed I had gained and the new ability, I knew I'd be able to defeat this Titan easier than before. I got my way over there and noticed all of the destruction. That's when we started to fight. I used all of my abilities. When I was fighting in town, I didn't want any of the scouts to know, so I would have to defeat this Titan really quickly. I used my Titan spikes, while the Beast Titan uses long arms to get a lot of good attacks in on me, and they hurt a lot. I got a critical hit with my hammer. Coming back in, I went for the nape, but I missed and used a spike attack instead. This Titan was pretty quick, so I'm glad I did all that speed training. I wanted to put my new move to use, but there are so many buildings around, I couldn't destroy them. And that's when the attack Titan had showed up. They both started teaming me, and I didn't know what to do. All I could do was defend myself here. 2 Titans versus 1, that is not good odds. I used my spike attacks, doing damage to both of them, but I was taking damage rapidly. My only goal here was to survive, so I couldn't focus on beating both of them. And while I was fighting one Titan, the other was fighting me in the back, so I couldn't really do much here. I kept using my attacks to try and slow them down to make an opening for me to escape, but I couldn't do anything. I just had to defend myself here. If I could hold out a little longer, I might be able to use my ODM gear to get out of here. They were pulling me in closer, using both their hardened stomps and kicks. When I fell over, I was defeated, but I wasn't done yet. I was on 1 heart, so I used my ODM gear to get out of there as quick as possible. I could not fight them yet, but if I train a little bit more, I might be able to take them on. I got to a safe place and then healed up, so I wouldn't take any more damage and die. And then after that, I decided to go back to my house and take a good night's rest because I was going to adventure in the morning and I was really tired. The next day, I found this chapel in the middle of nowhere. I decided to go in when I noticed that there was a book and what appeared to be a syringe. I grabbed the book and it read,
There's a total of 9 shifters. The Colossal, Attack, Warhammer, Armored, Cart, Beast, Female, Jawed, and the Founding. These 9 come from the founder Ymir and are used to wage war upon the world.
After learning this, I knew that to complete my mission, I only had to kill a couple more Titan shifters. So I went back to my house that night and studied the book, learning every in and outs of it and how to defeat each Titan shifter. And by the time I had finished, I was ready to go find the Titan shifter and defeat him. And I wanted to start with the Beast Titan. But after looking for him for a whole day, all I came back with was some meat. So I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up to a ton of Titans, right after a Titan scream. I knew what I had to do. I used my ODM gear and started going after them one by one. Eventually, I got the first one. Now there were only like 20 more to go. So I tried to get these guys and missed my first attack. After zooming around through the trees, I got a good vantage point and almost got him again. I came back around and took out 2 at the same time. There were a lot of these little guys after me, so I was trying to get them. But I wanted to focus on the taller ones first because they're a lot easier to kill. I went over to try and lure all of them into a group so I'd be able to take them out at the same time, getting 1 in the process. I was evading these 2 when I came back around and lunged towards another one and eventually got 2. Now there's only a couple more. I got some more after that, and some more, and some more. Now there's only 1 left, and I finished off the last one soon after that. And when I looked over to the left, I noticed the Beast Titan running away from the scene. After studying the book, I knew that he made those Titans. He used his spinal fluid. So I had to prepare for the next attack, when I was going to defeat him. I decided to head back to the chapel to see if I could find anything new there. And when I got there, it looked like there was someone standing on top of it. When I got to take a better look to see who it was the guy who had controlled the cart Titan.
Warhammer, I don't want conflict. We just need you out of our way.
I'm on a mission to save this island. And if that means I have to defeat you, then so be it. He transformed on the spot, and he was the size of a building. Soon after that, he came charging at me, so I transformed and we began to battle. My speed had gotten a drastic increase since the last time we had fought. So I ran away and looked for good opportunities to use my spike attack to do a lot of damage. After using each spike attack, I ran and then used my hammer swing and got his leg, doing a lot of damage and slowing him down drastically. He retaliated with a big hit, but I used my new spinning attack, and it was doing a lot of damage. This was the Titan shifter that was from the beginning, so I had to defeat him. I came through and used a spike attack, then I went to evade. He started running after me, but he was much slower. So, in the meantime, I used another spike attack, doing a ton of damage back to him, and evading all of his shots. I would move away, spike attack, use my speed, move away again. He was nothing to me now. I was so much more powerful. If I just kept this up, I'd be able to defeat him in no time. So, I used more spinning attacks. Knowing he was almost dead, I used another spike attack, seeing if I could get him from a long range to avoid any damage. The spike attack did a good amount of damage, and by the end of it, it finished him off. I had no time to waste. To kill the attack titan, I knew that it would be a lot harder. And because I was a member of the scouts, I decided to go into the capital and talk with Erwin. I knew I would need his help for this. I have a plan to take down the attack titan. Since I'm in the scouts, I would like your help.
Yes, I will help you with this.
After staying the night in the capital, I came back to Shiganshina in complete ruins. So I knew it was the attack titan. He was in retaliation. So I decided to go see where he was, or if I could find him. I scaled the wall, and when I looked out, I saw the attack titan running away from the scene. I couldn't chase after him yet. For my plan with Erwin to work, I would need to get stronger. So I had to ignore him for now, and go train with my titan. I got out to a good area where nobody was at to do my last bit of training. This would put me over the edge and maybe help me defeat the attack titan in battle. Once I was ready, it was time to enact the plan. So I went and followed the attack titan, and it led me back to where I had started. I scaled the wall, going down the stairs, and what I saw was an open ocean with a boat here. There was only one thing for me to do, and that was to sail on the boat to go fight the attack titan. I got there to Marley and immediately transformed.